Hello and welcome back. Now we've created a new project called XGame and we've made a function call to init window which takes some whole numbers for the window dimensions and some text for the title in the Windows title bar. In this video, we're going to discuss data types and why it's important that we pass our input parameters in the correct form. We're then going to talk about variables and how values can be stored in variables, and then we'll create some variables of our very own to pass into init window. So let's begin. When we call init window, we have to pass in whole numbers for the width and the height. That's because these are the dimensions of the window in pixels. We have a name for whole numbers in C++. We call them integers. Numbers like 9, 0, 1001, -75, these are all integers. Integers must always be whole. They can't have a fractional part. Now, what do I mean by fractional part? Well, look at these values. These are not integers because they each have a fractional part. These are the fractional parts. Values to the right of a decimal are fractional parts, and they mean that the value is not a whole number, thus not an integer. So when a function takes input, it's expecting that input to come in a certain type. Init window expects integers for its width and height parameters. Integer is the value's type. A value's type determines how that value is stored in memory. For example, integers can't have a fractional part because they're not designed to store that type of information. The type also determines what can be done to the value. Integers support addition, for example. You can add two integers together. Now, I just mentioned that a value can be stored in memory. This brings us to the subject of variables. Let's say that we love cookies so much that we'd like to keep track of the number of cookies we have. Now, we eat our cookies whole, so to us, there's no such thing as a fraction of a cookie. So say we've got 9 cookies. Well, we can store this value by creating what's called a variable. Variables have 3 main parts: a name, a value, and a type. We'll use good naming practice and be descriptive and call this variable number of cookies. Number of cookies will have the integer type, which in C++ is called int. An int variable can hold an integer value. It's not capable of storing a number with a fractional part, just like we're not capable of eating less than a whole cookie in one bite. Now, to create a variable, we specify its type using the correct type keyword. The keyword for integer is int, followed by the variable name with a semicolon at the end. This is called declaring a variable. Variable declaration is a statement, which is why we need the semicolon. Number of cookies is an integer variable that can hold the value of an integer. But all we've done is declare it. It doesn't hold any meaningful information yet. We need to initialize it with a value, and we do so using the assignment operator. This is the assignment operator. It looks like the equals sign. The assignment operator takes the value on the right, in this case 9, and assigns it to the variable on the left, in this case number of cookies. Now number of cookies holds the integer value 9. So now I have a challenge for you. I want you to go back into our program just inside the main function and create an integer variable called width and assign it a value of 350. Then I want you to pass width into init window as the first argument. Remember, the word argument means input, just like parameter does. Pause the video now and give this a try. Okay, we're back in our program and we'd like to create a new variable called width. So I'm going to come here into the main function, and just above init window, I'm going to create a new integer variable. So first I specify the type, in this case int, and I need to give this variable a name. I'm going to call it width. Then there's my semicolon. Now on the next line, I'm going to assign width a value using the assignment operator. That's this symbol here that looks like the equal sign. And I'm going to give it the value 350, and I also need a semicolon on this line as well. So now in init window, instead of passing in the value 350, I can simply pass in width instead. And init window is perfectly happy taking our variable width as its first argument. This will compile and run just fine. Go to run and start debugging to run this program. And in a second, we'll see our window pop up. There it was. It popped up for just a brief moment. Now remember, the window closes right away because we're reaching the end of our main function and our program terminates. But we didn't get any errors and our program ran just fine because init window was given a variable that has the data type of int, which is what init window expects. Okay, great job. You've now learned that data in C++ has its own type. We've learned that integers are whole numbers and are incapable of storing a fractional part. We learned how to declare a new variable by specifying the type and giving that variable a name, and we learned how to assign a value to that variable using the assignment operator, which looks like the equal sign. Excellent job. We'll learn more about data types as we go along, and we'll see that there are more types than just plain old integers. We'll see you soon.